A while back I had done a video on a guy named Lou Courtney. He was an R&B singer and I titled this "The Best Soul Singer You've Never Heard Of." And on this channel I like to highlight certain acts and performers that maybe didn't get the recognition that I feel they deserved, or had some really great material that that probably isn't very much heard, and I like to highlight them. And Lou Courtney was one of those guys, and unfortunately he passed away recently. And when somebody dies, usually people are checking out the internet to see what they can find on them. And his nephew found my video. Now let me just read you what he wrote to me. "Thank you for this post about my uncle Lou Courtney. I wish I would have discovered this video sooner. I would have shown it to Lou and he would have loved it. Unfortunately, Lou has been called home to glory. He died on the 24th of June, 2021. Sleep peacefully, Uncle Lou. Thanks again for this amazing tribute. May his legacy live on through his family, friends, and fans." So I was very happy to get that from his nephew. I got another inquiry from a singer that he used to sing with, and she also expressed some gratitude for shining some light on Lou Courtney, who's not very well known. The reason I bring this up is because I had been aware of a Lou Courtney Facebook page prior to this, years prior, and I assumed it was run by a fan. And Lou Courtney, there was some information posted about him. I think Lou Courtney himself may have posted a thing or two on there, but it had very few people that followed it. So when I did this video, I went to the Facebook page and tried to post it there since I'm a follower, and that post was denied. Now, if you deal with a lot of Facebook pages, there's a lot of rules that there's certain things that you can't post. You can't sell things, for instance. And in this case, clearly, I mean, this video that I did on Lou Courtney was a retrospective of basically his entire career. So over years of research, I've cobbled together a story on him and put it into a video form. Now, I thought this would be the perfect place to put this Lou Courtney video on a Lou Courtney Facebook page where people who are Lou Courtney fans could see it. So Lou Courtney's nephew said, "I wish my uncle could have seen this video," and I wish he could have too. In fact, that's why I tried to post it on the Lou Courtney Facebook page. So I'm not quite sure who this page is serving. It seems to me that when it comes to social media, the people that run these pages or these groups want to control the information. And even if you have something like this, which is rather innocuous, I mean, this was honoring this guy, he was not allowed up there. Quite frankly, I think that Lou Courtney had a much better chance of seeing the video if it had been posted there. It's like a hoarding of information that if they don't create the content, then it doesn't get to go out there. Now, a similar thing happened to me with a more well-known band called The Association. So The Association has several Facebook pages, and I had done a 4-part video on them, and I thought, well, let's try to put this on one of the Association Facebook pages. So a lot of these pages do not want self-promotion. They don't want people selling, peddling their wares. So I asked for permission to put this video, the first video, on, and this is the response I got. "Sorry I haven't got back to you yet. I thought I'd be able to tell you something, but I haven't heard back from Russ on whether or not he wants us to attach our name to your band history posts. They said a few things were not quite accurate. We always wish that outsiders could see from where we see it, but that's showbiz. Thank you for understanding." So then I responded by saying, "Well, thanks for the response and helping me understand the politics. If there are inaccuracies, your forum would be the place to challenge them. Keep in mind that my videos are one man's opinion, and the only reason I approached your group is because I thought group members might appreciate them. Thanks for your consideration." I had made the mistake of bringing up a writer, which was one of my sources for the video. And apparently this writer is the admin that was dealing with me in this exchange. This admin didn't care for this writer, saying there are inaccuracies in the book, and went in to say quite a few more pejorative things about this writer. Now, this is the actual book in question here. It's called The Association Cherished. Pretty thick book. This is an extensive, I mean, it's unbelievably exhaustive on how much depth it goes into. All the band members are interviewed, all the principals involved. It's very dense. Now, I don't know if some of this stuff is right or wrong, but apparently when you have this much information in there, of course there's going to be some things that are wrong or inaccurate or misquoted. Those things do happen. Just because you have things that are not accurate in a book doesn't mean you can't challenge them and bring those to the fore and discuss them, because this book can be reprinted and get those things corrected. If you're not going to have the discussion, those things won't be corrected. So the response went to say, hey, I personally know that you're just speaking your opinion, which you're entitled to, but fans don't always see opinion when one seems to know what they're talking about. The way you present yourself, one would think you interviewed the band. So I guess that's a backhanded compliment of sorts, that apparently I sound like I know so much that I'm talking about that it's not opinion but fact. Well, I clearly stated what my opinion was, and I do quote my sources within the video and in the description. So, these are the things that content creators, when you're trying to share information like this, it's not always easy. And I understand bands, they've got a brand and they've got to keep to their brand, which I completely understand. So, not a big deal that these videos weren't allowed on there. But I will say that if you add up my videos, it's a 48-minute documentary on this band. And I would have to say I handle it fairly even-handedly. And if there are any inaccuracies, I mean, you can tell me and we can talk about those. It could be a video correction. But these are the things that aren't going to happen, because these are the conversations that are not allowed. Now, when you're dealing with Facebook or other social media outlets, you're always going to have to deal with some politics. And that is true of Beatles Facebook pages as well. So there are several very sizable Beatles Facebook pages. Many of you are probably familiar with them or partake in some of the discussions in them. And I do as well. But if you look at a couple of them, you will notice some of the rules and regulations. For example, here's one, this is fairly common. Absolutely no Yoko bashing, hate speech, or bullying. Obviously, there's a lot of negativity on a lot of these sites, and name calling. It gets extremely vile. So these sites are meant to be inviting and to give information and to have a little bit of fun. So I can understand you want to obviously keep that negative stuff out and the trolling out. Now, the other thing that it mentions in here, the next point, no mentioning MDC or MA, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Another post mentions no posting photos or stories about or discussing the person who killed John by name or in detail. Tinfoil hat conspiracy theories about any of the Beatles' deaths, real or imagined, are not welcomed here. So obviously the MDC character that they mention here is Mark David Chapman, the murderer of John Lennon. And MA, I was like, who the hell is MA? And then it occurred to me it's Michael Abram. That's the guy who attempted and almost did kill George Harrison in 1999. Now, as I saw this on a couple of different sites, and these aren't the only two, by the way, other people refused to mention the name Mark David Chapman. I'm like, what is going on here? What is this all about? Because this is taking on some religious overtones that I find childish, actually. We can't say John Wilkes Booth? He killed the great emancipator. Well, you can't say his name? Or how about there's a guy in the 20th century, pretty bad dude, a lot of blood on his hands, Adolf Hitler. Why is his name okay to say, but we can't say Mark David Chapman? I think this is taking on some very strange properties here, where people are venerating pop stars and canonizing to the point where uttering the name of their killer is some kind of blasphemy. This feels more religious to me than rational. And these are, it's been 40 fucking years since Lennon was killed. What, we can't say his name anymore? Still can't say his name? This is more of a recent thing. The 20 years that followed Lennon's death, I don't remember anybody saying, hey, saying his name is forbidden. This is an internet thing. And this, again, is people exercising their power and their way to manage and to control the narrative. Now, I really don't see any problem with saying any of these people's names at all. If you're going to be an adult about it, how about we talk about the mental illness that both of these guys had? One of the things that happens when these people demonize these two guys, Chapman and Abram, what they're doing is they are belittling the mental illness that caused them to do these atrocities. Why can't we talk about that? Is that not an adult thing to talk about? Or would that be expunged? That's not allowed. Both of these guys were paranoid schizophrenic. In the case of Chapman, there was over a dozen psychologists and psychiatrists that analyzed him, and they found him to be paranoid schizophrenic, having personality disorders, manic depressive. Nobody found him sane. And in the case of Abram, very similar. He was undiagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, I believe. Now, I think that to do justice to people with some mental illness is not to continue to demonize characters like this. I think this is not a good thing. And this is what trying to control the narrative in this way does. It does not allow for understanding of why these things happened. I've got a book here that just came out in 2021. It's called The Attempted Murder of George Harrison by Les Perrier. And I picked this up. I really had no idea. I didn't know many details about this attack. And it's rather graphic. I'm surprised that Harrison made it. I mean, this guy really nearly killed him. And George is one tough guy, and his wife is tough as well. But these are the kind of things, and this goes into Mike Abrams' mental capacity and some of the problems he had and some of the things that were left untreated. And I think that's completely worth talking about. And this book is out and available now. I'll put the link below if you want to have a look at it. But I don't really see what the problem is about mentioning these guys. In Chapman's case, I think one of the reasons he's faced parole, I don't know, like 11 times, been denied every time. I think one of the reasons they're keeping him in is not so much that he may do harm, because he seems pretty docile now. He's an old man now. But I think they may be afraid some crazed Beatle maniac might try to kill him. Now, if you read some of the Facebook posts and YouTube posts out there on Chapman, it's not outside the realm of possibilities of what somebody could do to that guy. I mean, he is absolutely hated. So I just think there's just a complete lack of understanding. I mean, tragic, obviously tragic. And but I mean, again, all these examples I brought to you today have to do, in my opinion, with controlling some kind of a narrative and not allowing for the free flow of information, which I think is how you get to more truth. Thanks for watching. I have a ton more videos coming, a lot more Beatle content. We have more 60s bands, albums than ever were, and stuff I don't even know what I'm going to put out yet, but it's all coming, and you're going to see them here on Pop Goes the 60s.